Check out flipsidegaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and are you ready to take a journey around the globe today with me as we check out Ixalan previews? We have seen a lot of preview cards coming out of different markets, so a lot of foreign language cards. We're going to do our best today to translate them for you and talk about the cards. I will tell you right now they're all uncommons, but there's some really sweet ones here. Now quickly before we get started, if you check out the description below, you'll find some ways to support us, one of which is our Amazon affiliate links. Anything you purchase via Amazon, once you go through our links, a small percentage will come back to the channel. You'll also find our Patreon page linked below. And finally, you'll find a link to Flipside Gaming, and they have provided a promo code for our viewers, which was really awesome. Now, with that being said, let's get into the cards for today. We're going to start off with a Chinese simplified language spoiler, and loosely translated, it's Roaring Guard Dinosaur. It costs a white and 5. It is a dinosaur, 3/5. It has Enrage. Whenever this is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. So like I said at the top of the show, we're going to be looking at a lot of uncommons today. So adjust your expectations for power level versus casting cost. I will say this about the card. It's tad expensive at 6, but it's a really good card for draft and for sealed, especially if you're in some sort of enraged dinosaur strategy here. It costs 6, but at least it's only 1 on color, which is nice. 3/5 is a great blocker, but what I really like about this is if you have 1 or 2 other creatures on the battlefield, it really messes up combat for your opponent because they have to really think about how it's going to influence the board state going forward. Yeah, they might be able to crash in and get a little damage off of you, but then once this triggers, your other stuff's going to get bigger from that point forward, and that's going to be really annoying to contend with. So your opponent, as long as they don't have removal immediately to take this out, they're going to have to come up with some sort of way to mitigate the damage of having this on the battlefield, which means they might not be able to attack you very profitably. And secondly, if you attack them, that may be a very profitable attack, even if you don't get damage across and they just have to block or chump block. So overall, I think this is a really fine card again for those limited games. All right, let's move on to Italy with this Italian language preview card. It's Deathless Ancient, 2 black and 4, Vampire Knight, 4/4 with flying. Tap 3 untapped vampires you control, and then return this from your graveyard to your hand. Now, I will say this, again, much like the previous card, probably a little too expensive for what it's doing, and that ability is a little too situational for standard play, but this is another fine card for sealed and for draft. Be very happy to pick this up, probably relatively high even in a lot of packs. A 4/4 flyer for 6 is very good, actually, in a limited game. And beyond that, the ability, as long as you can populate your board with vampires, can be really good for you. Now, granted, the creature does go back to your hand. It's not like it goes right back into the battlefield, but that's okay. For 6 mana, I think that's manageable. And when you can populate your board, which I don't feel like will be super hard. We saw a card yesterday that was a forecasting cost card that gave us 3 vampire tokens, then as long as you got the right support for this, this could be really hard for an opponent to deal with. All right, let's move on to this Russian language spoiler, loosely translated, Kumena's Omenspeaker. It costs a green, it's a Merfolk Shaman, 1/1, and it will get +1/+1 as long as you control another Merfolk or island. Well, when you look at this card, I mean, the dream is that this is a 2/2 on your second turn, so you can attack in for 2 potentially, and you have a little bit of value off this 1-drop. In limited games, your sealed, your draft, I feel like that won't be too hard to pull off as long as you're in a strong Merfolk base. If you have enough Merfolk around you, there's a good chance this will happen. And if it doesn't happen for some reason, well, that's all right. Probably by turn 3, turn 4, it will happen for you. By then, okay, then you got yourself a slightly cheaper bear, basically. And okay, that might be fine for limited. Now, you do have to think about some of the constructive formats too. There are ways to turn this on, even in lieu of another Merfolk. For example, Botanical Sanctum is a thing in standard. When you get into modern, you have Breeding Pool. If you go into Legacy, you have Tropical Island. So those would work well with this card. Here's my ultimate question, though. Standard-wise, we haven't really seen enough of the set yet to say yes or no whether there'll be a Merfolk deck that can make it into the competitive format that Standard is. If there is, then this card will probably be a part of it, quite honestly. Now, beyond that, though, can this work its way into a Legacy or Modern Merfolk deck? I don't know, maybe. I'm a little skeptical just because why am I bringing green into this if I don't need to? There's easy ways to do it. Like I said, Tropical Island and Breeding Pool are not bad dual lands by any means, and they could make this work out for you. And you also have Ether Vials, which is another option. But at the same time, I don't know. Is it worth taking the risk of splashing this other color if you don't really have to do it? And because of that, I don't know if it's going to cross over well, but I'd at least want to try it out maybe. All right, our next one, I'm actually excited about this one. It comes to us from a Portuguese language spoiler. This is, again, loosely translated, Raging Gladiodon. This one is going to cost a green, a red, and 3. It's a dinosaur, 5/5 with trample, and when this enters the battlefield, deals 1 damage to each creature. Okay, so first off, nice stats. 5/5 trample for 5. Again, a great card to play in Sealed or Draft. I'd be happy to pick it up. But secondly, and maybe more importantly for this card, is it pings everything when it enters the battlefield. So what does that do for us? Of course, it turns on Enrage. So you can look at this one of two ways. If you're playing a lot of other dinosaurs with Enrage, then this is a fantastic enabler to turn those abilities on when this enters the battlefield. That's sweet. The other way to look at this is, are we going to see a lot of 1/1 vampires and 1/1 merfolk maybe on the other side of the board in a lot of our matchups? Yeah, we might. This card's really good in that situation too. I feel like this could be first pickable in draft, quite honestly. Now, beyond that, could this see standard play? Well, here's the deal. Again, if there is a dinosaur deck somehow, that maybe a Gruul stompy dinosaur deck that can make it into the upper tier of standard, then this could be a part of it at 5. I don't feel like it is unreasonable for the casting cost by any means. Secondly, could this be used also to control maybe a problematic vampire or merfolk deck that could potentially show up in standard? I don't know, maybe. So this card I think could see some standard play, but beyond that, it is excellent for your limited games, no doubt. All right, next we have another one of the vehicles. This one is Twilight, a Legion battleship, translated from the Spanish language spoiler. It's a 4/6, it costs 5, and of course it's an artifact vehicle with vigilance and a crew 2. So this is another one of those cards that, yeah, for standard purposes, it's not going to surpass anything that already exists vehicle-wise out there. But for limited, it's just fine. Like, it's not a early pickup, but a good mid-pack pickup, I think. Costs 5 to drop it down. Crew 2 is reasonable, nice defender, and can get some damage across. So yeah, I think it's going to be a fine card in a lot of your builds. All right, this one's actually pretty cool. Pillar of Genesis comes to us from a Japanese language spoiler. It costs 2. It's an artifact. When this enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Then you can tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, but spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type. So it is selective ramp for tribal creatures, but it's great if you're trying to go deep color-wise. This is going to be phenomenal for Commander players. Commander players, take note. This is going to be one you'll want to pick up if you play Tribal Commander or if you're planning to someday. And it's an uncommon, which is nice. Now, some people will draw some parallels to the lands to do this, most famous being like Cavern of Souls. And yeah, it's not quite that good, obviously, but in Commander, if you just need another card like this that's going to help you cast your tribal stuff, it's going to be really good for you. Again, in limited, how deep are you going to go in colors? I guess that remains to be seen what the set looks like, but if you're trying to get a little greedy, this could be good as long as that extra greed is going into actual tribal creatures. So for example, if I'm splashing maybe a couple dinosaurs because I want them at the top end of my curve and I don't have a lot of big finishers, then this might be a good card to include in my build. In standard, it's possible this card makes it there. It just depends on what tribal decks look like and how demanding their color requirements are going to be. With that being said, those are the cards for today. So this is a pretty sweet batch of cards, actually. I really liked today's cards. They felt like they're fantastic uncommons just generally here, and they're going to be rounding out your limited games for sure, and also uncommons always play a big role in standard going forward. So think about a few of the cards that we saw today and what their impact could be in the standard environment once the meta shifts. But anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.